So I'm going to start off with the question that you said you thought was most interesting to you, which is, are your moments of creative inspiration preceded by agony or a state of grace?
Yeah, it's most interesting. I think I'll also be, searching for an answer for like my whole life. But I feel like the answer used to be agony. But I've, something getting published in a few weeks that definitely came out of that, of just like, it's called loop, and I could not get myself out of this loop, and I would just have these little fragments, and they're all I felt like I was losing my mind, and I would just write down like what lines were going over and over in my head, and then I gathered those fragments together, and that was my way to not lose my mind. And yet, to be able to sit down and actually write it, I think does require grace. I mean, when I was writing in high school, it was all like breakup poetry. So that was definitely inspired by agony, and those were the only times I would write. And I didn't know how to revise or what that was. So either it was perfect, which it almost never was, or it was just dead, DOA. And that was so excruciating. It was really intensely disappointing. Because I was like, no. I am a writer, but what is this that I just created? And why won't it get better? Right. It's like first grade, I've got this beautiful picture in my mind and I'm trying to draw it. And I'm like, no, you guys, you don't understand. Like, I am a fantastic artist. It's just not coming out of my stupid little first grade hands. But just like, or even like drawing half of the Christmas tree and then the other half is like, like the stroke Christmas tree. I mean, I have plenty of, I think this is amazing. Oh shit. No, it wasn't. I did that this week. I'm like, this is the next, modern love column. And I wrote it that morning and sent it to a friend that afternoon. And the next morning I was like, to me, though, the state of grace, I relate that to, I'll get a first line, and that sort of, like, everything else unravels from there. And I've written plenty of things without having a first line that's, like, going through my head. It's harder. I get sort of lost, and this needs a lot of editing. And yet, I feel like at least half of my pieces, if not more, I've had a first line going. They don't always stay, but they unravel the spool of thread, and that's grace for me. That that line has arrived. I remember hearing a story about a female poet who also worked on, my sense is like worked on a farm in the South, and she described her process as like, the words would come, she could see them coming towards her almost like clouds, and she had to rush into her house so she could write them down before they disappeared. She was like racing them. I don't know, some writers who really interest me, like Sarah Manguso, or one of my advisors in my MFA program, Robert Vivian. I swear they're like literary ministers or something, where they inhabit this spaciousness that they can then deliver in their readings and their work that has, for me, some sort of spiritual component to it. And like, I'm comfortable saying like that's my church.
1, 2, 3, 4.